It revolutionized a number of industries, starting with autonomous vehicles, drones, social media. We've seen this go into other areas such as agriculture, where now they're using machine learning for precision farming. And naturally, you would have similar things in aquaculture. So we're thinking about how can we determine the size of the fish swimming in the pen? How can we determine the visual health of the fish in terms of the number of sea lice, in terms of how hungry the fish is, the appetite, how much we should feed the fish? And so these are things we're thinking about at Aquabite, and our first product is really around biomass estimation and sea lice counting. So just a brief background on machine learning. It works a bit differently than regular programming. So we take footage from the pen. We actually have stereo cameras underwater that record the fish swimming around. We get expert annotators, so fish farmers to come in, help us identify the fish, and over time train the algorithm to be able to learn to identify the fish on their own. And in this case, identify the depth of each object in the frame to get a sense of scale, as well as segment each of the fish and eventually get an estimate of the volume and weight of the fish. And over time, it gets more and more accurate in terms of the biomass distribution, which is very useful for both feeding and determining how much a farmer can sell. As I mentioned, our first product is really around biomass and sea lice counting. In this case, we're also able to identify each of the sea lice in the pen and be able to determine and classify each of the sea lice to get an accurate count. Over time, our platform will include other types of algorithms in terms of determining the appetite of the fish, in terms of pellet counts, behavioral detection, being able to uniquely identify each individual in a pen and be able to do that on the same hardware. The idea is eventually to be able to use this data for feed optimization, which is, I suppose, especially relevant for this conference. So if we could determine the size of the fish over time, its growth, how much was fed, as well as the environmental conditions, we can start to use this to optimize the feeding of the fish. And especially for feed manufacturers, when they sell feed, they can give their customers feeding algorithms to tell them how to optimally use and feed the fish. And this is what we're working towards.